Now, additionally, based on other publicly disclosed information, here you go, the defendant used current lead defense counsel to improperly disclose that classified info. Like, so I didn't do it and he didn't do it. No, it's the guy that Comey hired. How come you didn't say that Richmond didn't send it? And did you send any emails to Richmond or vice versa? Was there conversations throughout that little cabal of people?
He's the one that threatened it by spying on my campaign. He started it. Obama spied on my campaign, and he did it knowing it was illegal. He knew it was illegal, but he started the whole thing, and there were a lot of dishonest people, and I suspect they'll be caught.
James Comey and his lawyers now scrambling after Lindsay Halligan is saying, we may need to implement a filter protocol for Patrick Fitzgerald, an attorney for James Comey, in his prosecution. You see, this one's coming out of the Eastern District of Virginia, and the prosecutor who's bringing this one, as we know, is Lindsay Halligan. Signing this one is Tyler Lemons for the DOJ, saying we've identified some pretty big problems here, and Comey's defense team is also unloading. They're filing a bunch of motions trying to keep this case from progressing. But here is what Halligan submitted into the Eastern District of Virginia. She says, all right, listen, we are now here asking for an expedited ruling on a request to implement a filter protocol. The evidence for this review could contain exculpatory or inculpatory evidence, and it could show that we have a big potential conflict and even disqualification problem for James Comey's main lawyer called Patrick Fitzgerald. Here's more. Both the Sixth Amendment and the Virginia Rules of Professional Conduct compel prosecutors to alert the court about a potential or actual conflict. Let's see if they give us some more details. Here's the background. We know James Comey was indicted for lying to Congress, false statements, and obstruction of justice, 2 counts. And evidence that the government has in their custody includes potentially protected material because the evidence was obtained from an attorney. And remember, in the Office of Inspector General report from, I think, 2019, there was clear evidence that Comey was sending his little memos, just like John Bolton was writing his little, diary memos. Comey was doing the same thing and sent them to his lawyers back in 2017. One of those lawyers, Patrick Fitzgerald, same dude he just hired to represent him in this criminal defense case. Now, relevant to this motion, the attorney has informed the government that the quarantined evidence contains communications between Comey and several attorneys. And so the current lead defense counsel appears to be a party of some of those communications. So DOJ saying we've got a bunch of evidence that helps our case to show that Comey's a liar, that he was leaking these materials out to everybody. When he was asked about it, he lied to Congress. And some of those emails were sent to his attorney. But as we've already talked about, remember when Trump was being prosecuted, they shattered his attorney-client privilege. We had Judge Beryl Howell in the DC district explain that there was a crime fraud exception, and there was evidence that Trump and his lawyers were colluding to commit a crime together. And if you're furthering a crime and not getting defense work on a current case, for example, then maybe you're a co-conspirator and maybe you're going to be prosecuted. So how can you be representing him and then also say, I have attorney-client privilege? So the government is now here saying, we have a request. We want a filter protocol to reduce and segregate any potentially protected material. We're going to implement this. It's necessary so that the current trial milestones are maintained and met. We've got a strict schedule here. So we need to start processing all this evidence right now to separate it out to say, okay, this is privilege, this is not. So help us. Here, the potentially protected material could contain exculpatory or inculpatory evidence relevant to the defense or the government. And currently, the government is not aware of the contents of this protected material. We're not looking at it because it might be attorney-client privilege, so we can't see it. We need a team to come filter it out so we can look at it. As a party to some of the communications contained in the potentially protected material, the defense necessarily has awareness. They know about this. Now, additionally, based on other publicly disclosed information, here you go, the defendant used current lead defense counsel to improperly disclose that classified info. The DOJ had an Office of Inspector report. We've looked at it here. The final description of Comey's conduct is worth consideration. So here's what the Office of the Inspector General said. And I believe this was the 2019 report there from August. See that right there. Saying in the report, and we read actually some of the details, but the report itself said, the responsibility to protect sensitive law enforcement information falls in large part to the employees of the FBI. They have access to the data through their daily duties. Now, on occasion, some of these employees may disagree with decisions by prosecutors, judges, or high-ranking FBI and department officials about the actions to take in criminal or in counterintelligence matters. Some disagreement. They may even, in some situations, distrust the legitimacy of those supervisors or those decisions. So you've got some natural disagreement in the agency, okay? But even when these employees believe that their most strongly held personal convictions might be served by unauthorized disclosure, the FBI depends depends on them not to disclose the information. Like, you might disagree with our decision, but you can't just go complain about it to the public. FBI Director Comey failed to live up to this responsibility by not safeguarding sensitive information obtained during the course of his employment and by using it to create public pressure for official action. Comey set a dangerous example for over 35,000, way too much, FBI employees and the many thousands more former FBI employees who have access to this non-public information. So they say even the OIG is showing you Comey's bad news. He leaks this stuff all over the place and it's unbecoming of an FBI director. So this fact raises a serious question of conflict and disqualification for Patrick Fitzgerald. Some of the communications in the potentially protected material are from the same time as the focus of that OIG report. Now, before litigating any issue of conflict or disqualifying Patrick, the party should have access to all relevant and non-privileged information. The sooner that information is reviewed and filtered, the sooner the parties can make appropriate filings with you. And so we request an expedited ruling. We want to filter protocol. We have a bunch of evidence we got to filter through, privileged or not. An expedited ruling is necessary so that we all have equal access to the information as quickly as possible. This will allow the parties and the court to discuss the relevant issues. And so please let us know. We want to get this done quickly. Signed out of Lindsay Halligan's office. Shout out to N. Tyler Lemons, Assistant U.S. Attorney over there in the Eastern District of Virginia. Now, the judge got a response in from Comey's people, and we've got two submissions in response to that. So now Comey is responding to Lindsay Halligan and the request for a filter team with an expedited ruling being decided by the court. They say, well, all right, we're here, Judge. And they didn't tell us that they were even going to file this. No prior notice that they were even going to drop this today. It's like, well, we were talking about this last week. You knew it was coming, so don't act surprised. The defense needs the 2 weeks afforded by the rules to review the materials and respond to this. This is important because based on our review, it appears that the government's review of the materials is unlawful. Like, well, you've got attorney-client privilege. They don't really want a filter team because they want to say the government has a bunch of evidence that they should not have, that's illegal, that they've already looked at, and that's fruit of the poisonous tree, and that deserves sanctions, and a good sanction is a dismissal of the case. Right? It's like, no, they have materials. Finally, the government, and their effort to defame Patrick Fitzgerald, trying to defame him, he says, provides no basis to grant the motion, so you should deny it. He says, you have to give us time. We need 2 weeks. There's local rules. When the government first raised this with the defense on October 10th and 11th, oh, so you did know about it. The defense asked for an opportunity to review the warrants. The government would not give us the warrants before filing the motion for a filter protocol and did not produce warrants until October 13th. Now, the government acknowledges that the warrants were obtained in a previous investigation, quote from an attorney, bunch of redactions. What the government does not say was that the warrants at issue were obtained by prosecutors. This person, something, 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 something. Now, what is more, the warrant seized something, something. Comey did not participate in those materials. And the government, again, is refusing to answer our questions about this or that. Also, not answering questions about prior warrants. We've got concerns about review because defense has reason to believe something, 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 whatever that is. So we want to avoid delay. We want to seek sufficient time. And this is defamatory, he says. The government's assertion that he used the lead defense counsel to improperly disclose classified info, they say that's a criminal activity. That's provably false. And in any event, provides no basis to grant the motion to expedite. Well, we'll see. The OIG report even says that. Notably, there was no leaking of classified information. No, but you got emails. Did you get messages or not? Oh gosh. He says full stop, just like Ketanji Brown. There was no leaking of classified information. The feds say this. How do you respond to the accusations that you were leaking? Well, first of all, there was no leaking. Oh, what was it? It was an email. Oh, were you supposed to send that? Not really. Okay, so you leaked it. No, I sent an email. Okay, we got it. Labels are very important to them. There was no leaking by either Comey or his counsel. Full stop. The report found no evidence that Comey or his attorneys released any of the classified information to the media. The report even says that. But what happened was they passed it along to other people, is the allegation, to Daniel Richman, the Columbia law professor. It's like, so I didn't do it and he didn't do it. No, it's the guy that Comey hired. How come you didn't say that Richman didn't send it? And did you send any emails to Richman or vice versa? Was there conversations throughout that little cabal of people? Now, moreover, the OIG specifically addressed Comey and sharing this. And after Comey was fired, he sought legal advice. Well, so did Trump, and they breached his attorney-client privilege too, remember? Comey had written several memoranda. He adjudged the 3 memoranda to be unclassified, and he shared those 4 unclassified memos with his defense counsel, who shared those memos with other attorneys. Yes, exactly. Thank you for admitting that. The memos were unclassified at the time that they were shared, and we shared unclassified. Comey did not share the classified memos with counsel. trial. And yeah, that's interesting because I think there's disagreements about that. We'll find out once the filter team comes in, but there are some weeks after this, there was someone in the government up-classified one of the memos to confidential. An up-classification doesn't change the fact that it was unclassified when he shared it. And that was a judgment call, and he's allowed to make that. In short, there's no good faith basis to saying that we're criminals, and I'm not getting disqualified at all. And so we need more time to respond to this, signed by Jessica Carmichael. Patrick Fitzgerald didn't write that one. Jessica Carmichael did, over for the Comey team. Now, the judge just issued the latest order saying the arraignment on October 8th, we have a jury trial scheduled for January 5th, I believe. The court ordered some other deadlines. The government filed its motion for a filter team, and 6 days later, the government filed another motion. They want an expedited ruling on the filter team. The government said, we don't want the trial stones to be moved around. Then Comey responded to that. We don't want a filter team, or I need 2 weeks to respond to this. And having considered everything, we're going to deny Halligan's motion to expedite, but we're still going to handle the filter team request, but just not as quickly as the DOJ wants. The court finds this time frame balances the timing, so expediency to the government and necessary time for the defense. It's a complex trial, and there are some serious issues identified. And so therefore, we're not going to have this settled quickly, but Comey shall respond to the filter protocol claims by October 27th, signed by Michael Nachmanoff. So that's the judge. The president was out over the weekend talking about the scam led by Comey and Obama. And here's what the president had to say about this.
All of these indictments caused Obama the other day on a podcast to say that right now democracy is being threatened.
Yeah, I know. He says that all the time. He's the one that threatened it by spying on my campaign. He started it. Obama spied on my campaign, and he did it knowing it was illegal. He knew it was illegal, but he started the whole thing, and there were a lot of dishonest people, and I suspect they'll be caught.
All of these
I sure hope so, Mr. President. The dominoes slowly getting knocked down. We've got Tish, Comey, Bolton, and others, and the battles are just warming up. We'll keep our eye on this one, my friends, and have all the updates on the Comey prosecution. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do.